very welcome. No problem. Have a nice night. Thanks. When did it stop?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation by Reverend Dr. Morris Youssef of the First Presbyterian Church of Blackwood.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It is my joy and pleasure to be here with you tonight. Thanks for having us as a ministerium, and I'm glad to be a part of the meeting tonight. Just wanted to let you know one thing. I grew up in Egypt, and it rains 2 times a year, each time for like 10 minutes. So you know what I feel or how I feel now. But please join me as we ask God's blessings to be on our meetings tonight. Oh, gracious God, we come before you tonight and we acknowledge the truth that you are the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. You are high and enthroned as the Holy One. You are sovereign and holy, and the holy true God. To you, King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Gracious God, we thank you for the gift of our land, and we pray for our nation. I ask that you would give our council members wisdom beyond their own understanding and courage to choose the right path, no matter how narrow the gate might be. I ask that you would give them the grace and the strength to stand against the temptation to use power as a weapon, but rather to serve this community with humility and love. May they seek your will and guidance in the matters before them tonight. I pray for their families as well and for freeing them to be here tonight and to serve this community. Pour out your Spirit on our nation and help our council to discern good from evil, not as their eyes or the eyes of humans see it, but through spiritual eyes, through your love and compassion. I pray for a unity of vision and a unity of purpose. Humble our hearts, O God, so that we will be a nation, a people filled with gratitude and thankfulness. In the name that is above every name on earth and in heaven, the name of your Son, Jesus the Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.
This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the scheduled meetings of Township Council established and adopted by Township Council, which schedule designates the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. We are using an electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record, and we request that all those wishing to speak be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for the preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meeting. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison? Mr. Owens?
Present.
Mrs. Stubbs?
She's out on medical.
Mrs. Winters? Here. Mr. Mignon?
Here.
Mrs. Strada? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Carlemere?
He had another engagement.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
Mr. Lechner?
Here.
Captain Barton?
Here.
Mr. Tagoff?
Proclamation.
Whereas Tourette syndrome is an inherited neurological disorder that is characterized by involuntary physical and vocal tics that occur many times a day. And whereas Tourette syndrome is often accompanied by other mental health disorders such as attention deficit and obsessive compulsive disorder, learning disabilities, and anxiety. And whereas more than 20,000 school-aged children in the state of New Jersey alone are dealing with Tourette syndrome, and although some of these cases are aided by medication, there is no standard treatment or known cure for the disorder. And whereas there is an important need for more professional help with interest and expertise to identify, counsel, and treat people with Tourette syndrome, a disorder that is often misdiagnosed and misunderstood. And whereas positive actions to assist children and families living with Tourette syndrome would result from a broadening of public and professional knowledge and acceptance of Tourette syndrome. And whereas the New Jersey Center for Tourette Syndrome and Associated Disorders, the nation's first center of excellence for Tourette syndrome, is actively providing services to families, educating medical professionals and teachers, and supporting research to better understand the signs and treatment of Tourette syndrome. Now therefore be it resolved that David R. Mayer, Mayor of the Township of Gloucester, and Orlando Mercado, President of Council, do hereby proclaim June 4th, 2019 as Tourette Syndrome Awareness Day in the Township of Gloucester as a special day to promote understanding, compassion, and acceptance for all our fellow citizens who deserve and need our support to break the stigma that surrounds Tourette syndrome.
Bid report.
2019 Road Improvement Program.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Becky.
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. Now we have our public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item only, please raise your hand. If you have any questions regarding the budget, there is a separate public hearing, so I ask that you reserve those questions and comments for that public hearing. Mr. Heimbaugh.
Good evening, Pete Heimbaugh, Morningstar Court, Circleville. Resolutions 139 and 140. I see we're making some rather large purchases using the NJ co-op pricing procedure. What are the rules to follow to utilize a co-op pricing?
Well, those are, I'm going to start. Those are state contracts that, go ahead, Tom. No, because sometimes they're not. All right, go ahead.
So they are cooperative purchasing agreements that have been approved by the state of New Jersey. We, in the past, have passed resolutions to enter into those cooperative purchasing agreements, again, approved by the state. So we are permitted to purchase, just like we are under state contract, through the co-ops, the various co-ops. In order to do that, we have to list the co-op in the resolution, the co-op number, what we're purchasing, and the amount, just like we would if we were buying under state contract.
So there's no bidding procedure needed when you utilize a co-op?
The bidding actually took place already within the co-op.
Okay. Does the township perform any, just for diligence or comparative purposes, perform any bidding process outside of the co-op system for, like, for example, for these purchases?
Yes.
Did you do some independent bidding process?
Yes, what they did was they looked at the pricing and then compared it to prices if they were going to buy it or put it out for bid, and these prices were good prices. So
You mean the contractor who?
No, this would be like Public Works, for example,
Okay.
Roman,
Right.
my head, our head
Okay.
vehicle maintenance person. We can look at this.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Before you jump, I just want to ask a question. And we've, I know we've been part of a co-op with Middlesex County, we purchased Public Works. Any other co-ops that we've been involved with, top of your head?
No, there's several, but I'm not.
Okay.
NJPA, I believe, is one of them. You want to call anyone?
And normally at service commissions, they're servicing school districts. So we're part of this cooperative in this initiative here.
Correct.
Continue.
Yes, thank you. Resolution 141. Who's the current outgoing registrar of vital statistics?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, it's the same individual. She works out of HR. It's Renee Taylor.
So this is just kind of a reappointment of,
You're required by state statute every 3 years to make the appointment, so this is the time.
yes, okay. That's it then, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the first public portion. Next, we have our items of consent agenda of resolutions. Any council member would like to move any of those items, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes, I'm okay with that, Mr. Owens. I'm fine with that. Next, we have our regular agenda.
Resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, governing body certification of compliance with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records in employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Resolution 153, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Gloucester authorizing the Township Clerk to read the 2019 Township Budget by title only.
I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Mr. Vignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes. We'll now have our public hearing on the 2019 calendar year budget. Anyone wish to speak, please raise your hand. Mr. Polidoro?
That's not kind, right?
No.
Good evening, Council. Ray Polidoro from the Historic Village of Burial.
We-
Last time that we were discussing the budget, I had some specific questions for you, none of which were answered. You still had some work to do on the budget, so I understand that. The question that I had for you is, with all your work and due diligence on this budget, do you feel that this budget is a very responsible budget?
Yes.
Do you feel that you looked not only at the present, but at the future when putting together this budget and submitting it?
I didn't put together the budget, I reviewed it, but yes, it takes into account our present and our future. Mr.
With
Cardis,
that-
do you want to, Mr. Cardis, do you
Please.
want to comment on it?
As best we can, in terms of what we know about, like debt service. We don't know what the state pension is going to bill us. You know, we have some idea about our insurances. We have some idea about the health insurance. We have ideas in terms of the salaries and wages, because they're still under contract. Now, some of those expire at the end of this year. So, you know, they'll go into negotiations. I don't know what will happen out of that. So there is some certainty. There is also some areas where we're not sure.
Okay, with all due respect to contracts, pensions, and what have you, it's a routine that we always maintain. There would be no surprises, so everything that you looked at was to be expected, correct? You know, within parameters where a salary may go, where a pension is or is not, what your
But it has to
obligations
be
are for that.
negotiated.
Okay, so with that being said, I asked a question that I knew I wasn't going to get the answer to last meeting. Now I'm curious as to whether I will get that answer tonight, and I appreciate your honesty on this. In looking at this budget, having said that you were looking at the present and looking into the future, can you, or better said, will you guarantee the residents and the taxpayers of Gloucester Township that you will relieve them of the burden of a tax increase for the next 3 years?
It's very difficult to do.
It's a yes or no?
I cannot guarantee, so no.
No. Okay. According to the schedule that you guys keep, every other year there's a tax increase, almost double digits each time in 2014, 16, and 18. With your budget looking into the future and present, your schedule would dictate that you have a tax increase coming next year. And you still have not settled contract with our police department. And I sure as God hope that, number one, you don't have a tax increase next year, and if you dare raise taxes again next year, that you do not blame it on the police, and you do not blame it on the contract of the police, because that's 2.5 years old, that contract, and that could have been taken care of long before now. And with the tax increase scheduled, which is your regular routine to come next year, again, I hope that you're not dog paddling and saying, well, we had to pay the police public safety the same song and dance that we generally hear when it comes to public safety. We know that we need the police. We know that we need to take care of the police. And for the past 2.5 years, that has not been done. Understand what the process is right now and understand what's going on. But again, I pray that you do not raise taxes and point a finger at the police contract if you even get that done. That's all that I have to say, and I thank you for listening.
I can assure you no one's dog paddling, Ray. But also, keep in mind your comments you've made in the past when you've talked about the bells and whistles that our police department receives. You referred to them as toys in the past. So, when you say we haven't taken care of our police department the last 2.5 years, I can give you a capital budget that has increased over the last 3 years that supported our police department. So I understand why you're saying what you need to say today, but let's be mindful of the things you've said in the past, Ray.
Let me,
And I have a budget that each year shows how much I support our police department.
okay, now I'm going to respond to you for your reply to me. And my comment was during the time that Camden County had the response vehicle, sometimes called the tank.
Wasn't, Ray.
Now, please let me finish.
I've been doing some digging because I'm involved in some stuff in the evenings, and I see your postings and your comments of things that you said in the past.
Here's where I'm going to go again.
Okay.
Camden County had, and we'll call it the response, armored response vehicle. Many towns at the time were getting that with grants. Now, grants are still tax money, despite the fact that sometimes it appears that it's money off of a tree. When the county had their response armored vehicle, and we had not gotten a grant for it, we paid for that, if I remember correctly.
There were no grants available for that.
Voorhees got theirs without cost within their municipal budget, and other towns did as well.
Of that in the grant, because I don't know what.
I'll be more than happy to get that
The same vehicle
from-
that we purchased.
from
Is
the
that what you're talking about?
from the people in
Is that what
Voorhees.
you're talking about? The same vehicle we purchased. Is that what you're talking about?
They've got their armored response. I'll check on the exact details for you.
Apples. It's the same vehicle.
I will check on that for sure.
Wow.
But they did get.
There were no grants available when we purchased that.
I believe the people of Voorhees will.
And I think it was a good
differ with
investment given what happened out of Brittany Woods.
And again, it's useless. I'm not talking about the tools that our police need to use. I was talking about the money that may or may not have to have been spent at that time and grants available. And again, Mr.
I've
Cardis,
criticized the purchase of it in the past.
It was
I've heard
about-
you criticize
it
the
was
purchase of it.
about the dollars
I've
and
heard you
cents.
criticize the purchase
Ray, you
of
want
it.
to continue? You have anything else to add?
I was waiting for the not elected official to get done what he was stating. In any event, it was about that. And the toy that I referred to one time was the Segway. And it served its usefulness too. Again, I'll always agree that the police need all the tools. The dollars spent and how we can get to them, sometimes that's your job to look after. And I feel at that time in the discussion we had,
Absolutely, it's our job to look at.
for the dollars and cents spent as well.
Yes.
Okay? So like I said and begun with, let's take care of them. And again, let's see where this brings us again next year. Thank you.
Good evening. Anyone else? Mr. Heimball.
Pete Heimball, Morningstar Court. A couple line item questions in the budget. On sheet 12 of the budget document that I looked at, there's a line item for the grant administration cost center. And in previous years, in all the previous years, we've had a budgeted amount in there, salaries and such. And this year, that amount is zero. Mr. Cardis did answer the question I had on that we no longer have that position. But are we expecting fewer grants this year, or what's the purpose of?
So we have expanded some of our own personnel, such as Christy Aaron, our CFO, as they've They've completed grant applications. The police have completed grant applications. Ray Evans, through emergency management, has completed applications. So we are doing more in-house. There are some bigger applications. We have 2 Green Acres applications right now that we utilize Triad, which is one of our RFQ professionals. So they worked on that, but we're spreading that out and doing a lot of it in-house.
Okay, so spreading the work in-house, except for when you utilize a consultant like Triad. Where does a Triad consulting invoice show up on the budget?
I believe the money is under the CDBG program.
Okay, also a line item on sheet 14, there's the township attorney's cost center budget. And we've seen drastic increases both last year and in this year's budget for other expenses. That's just the line item, just says other expenses. It looks like it's mostly legal fees. And Mr. Carter's again answered that question, says related to lawsuits, but that was all that was said. What increased in the way of lawsuits? What spiked up in the last year or so?
What happened last year?
Well,
Yeah, starting last year, yes, legal fees spiked up and it's carrying over into this year.
I'm sorry because Mr. Carlemer's not here. I'm in a deficit with that. I know one of them was the lawsuit with the facility over by the college.
Our recovery centers.
Recovery RCA.
Yeah, that was one of them. I'm trying to think of the other.
Everything is involved with the Fair Share Housing Agreement.
Correct.
So,
Pete, is it possible we can provide you that? I'll speak to Mr. Carlemer and provide you
Okay.
with
very good.
pending lawsuits.
I'll accept that, yep. And in general, this budget carries a 0 tax levy increase, which is good for taxpayers. But there is a $1.7 million total expenditure increase. And we paid for that in different ways. We've got some generous grants to pay for some of it. But we also sold the $1 million property to fund some of this spending increase that won't be available as something to do next year. The spending levels are now up there, 1.7 plus higher this year compared to last year. We've managed to find ways to fund it this year with a 0 tax increase, the biggest thing being this land sale. But next year, we'll still have these higher spending levels, but we won't have this land parcel. The township won't have this land parcel to sell to cover these higher spending levels. So we're kind of on target for a tax increase for next year just through these numbers. That's not outrageous to say, right? Spending is up. We funded this year, right now, $1.7 million compared to last year's budget. We funded a lot of that through a land sale this year. That land is sold now. We won't have that. Spending levels will stay up because they're up now. I mean, you raised them. It's all across the board. It's all across the budget, this $1.7 million. It's not just one thing. And we won't have a land sale next year. So we're on pace to tack on to Mr. Polidora's concerns and question. We're on target for a tax increase next year, even if nothing else happens between now and next year. Is that?
Well, I'm following your thought process here,
Yeah.
but also a year ago, I didn't sit here and say that we had a parcel of land to sell to a developer that was interested in putting market rate homes who's a renowned developer in our area. So a year ago, I couldn't have told you that
Right.
we had that $1 million sale because for years we tried to sell parcels or part of the Nike base unsuccessfully, and different projects did not fulfill
Right.
our desires there. So I can't forecast what's happening. Yes, you said it's an increase of 1.7 over last year, our total budget, but it's a moving, living document, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but spending levels go up. I mean, this was an across-the-board $1.7 million. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit.
For example, the
Yeah.
police pensions went up about $300,000.
Oh, yeah, but so,
That's a bill that we don't control. The state issues the demand payment by I think it's, April, Christie, is it April 1st or April 15th? And then when do we get our state aid money? After the budget gets passed, sometime.
so you're supporting my concern. You're just saying it's not your fault. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying there are things beyond our control, yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, another question is just kind of for understanding. Every year, for the budget process every year, we have a surplus on hand. Most of that we roll in as a revenue source for the next year's budget, like we're doing in this budget. I think 3.1 million is the amount of surplus we're rolling into this year's budget as revenue. And we set expenditure levels through the budget. We have all our other revenue sources, taxation, grants, municipal fee, court fees, whatever, to make our total revenue. We have expenditures to match that, so we come out zero at the end. And that's assuming we spend all the surplus and end up with a zero surplus at the end of the fiscal year. That's what the budget assumes, correct? The budget assumes a beginning surplus balance that goes in as revenue, but it's at zero at the end of the year.
I'm not sure what you're asking me. Are you asking us to appropriate less surplus?
No,
and
I'm saying
raise taxes?
every year we end. I'm saying the budget assumes that.
You're making an observation about
Yes.
the surplus. And yes, it's 3,150,000.
And the budget says it'll be zero on December 31st.
There's
the
still
surplus.
a remaining balance of surplus. I don't recall exactly.
Well, out of that 3.1 million.
About $500,000.
Yes,
still
okay,
remaining.
that. But out of the 3.1 million we're moving into revenue on January 1st.
Right.
The budget assumes that 3.1 will be zero on December
I would
31st.
say almost every municipality in the state
Yeah,
of New
but
Jersey
it never is. But it never is. We always end up with several million, 4 million, 5 million in surplus. So what are we? So are you over budgeting?
No.
Your expenditures assume you spend that whole 3.1 million and end at zero on December 31st. But we never do. So you're over budgeting and therefore overtaxing.
I don't think so. I don't think that the rating agencies think so either, because our rating is still strong.
I'm just talking theory of the surplus. The theory says you enter the year 3.1 as revenue. You end the year at zero, is what the budget says. But never, ever do we end the year at zero surplus. Never do. So that means we're over budgeting our expenditures every year.
Over budgeting expenditures?
Yes.
No.
Because you end with a surplus. You don't spend all the revenues down and you end up with a surplus at the end of the year, even though your budget says you're not. When December 31st comes, you do have a surplus at the end of the year. Every year.
As do most towns?
So we are over budgeting our expenditures.
No, we're budgeting for our needs.
That's not what the surplus, that's not what the,
Comes from revenues also.
Surplus comes from two sources, either revenue that we did not anticipate or money's left over.
and it happens every year.
Year.
And but the budget always assumes zero for that number.
So the surplus that's in this budget for 19 came from the 2017 budget. It has to run
Yes,
over
but-
2 years of a regular budget cycle and then a reserve before it lapses into fund balance.
But it never does. We always end the year with a surplus every year on December 31st, when the actual numbers come in.
Okay?
So that means
There are variables in there. What about snow?
but every year we're
Budget
over,
for snow.
so that's what you're doing, you're over budgeting the account for the
We
need.
can call outside contractors.
You're-
at once.
Just by definition of what you're saying, what we're both saying,
So you said,
you're over
I'm
budgeting.
saying we need to be prepared. and
So
this
you are,
could be
okay,
the-
you are over budgeting, so you're prepared. But we always end up with a surplus at the end, even if snowstorms happen and things like that. So it just doesn't make
I disagree.
reasonable.
I disagree. I disagree. We're budgeting responsibly for the safety of the community.
But every year we end up with a non-zero, a positive surplus, a non-zero positive surplus.
Well, then we did a good job of keeping
So you over-
expenses down.
Well, then budget for that. But the budget expenditures don't say that. You say you're going to do it, and And every year we end up with a budget, but we don't, I mean, we end up with a surplus, but
Budget responsibly.
it's always over budgeting your expenditures is responsible. But every year, it's never is there a year where we have a budget deficit rather than a surplus.
You wouldn't want a deficit. That would
No,
be-
you don't, but
That would be an automatic audit finding also.
we don't want that. But we already sitting here in May, we already know we're not going to have a zero surplus on December 31st. We all know that because it happens every year. But your budget says that. It just doesn't make
Well, I will
Doesn't
say
make
that,
logical
we do
sense.
use almost all of our surplus every year that we do generate, and we put it towards tax relief in the following year's budget. So if
we use it
do
as revenue.
generate-
Yeah, it
if
kind of
we do
rolls over.
generate it, we don't save it, we use
No,
it
you roll
to
it.
offset taxes.
You do roll it as revenue for the
So-
next year. I do see that. But every year we
So
know,
if there is anything generated from
So
that
you're
year,
bothered
we
by
try
the
to
fact that
offset the
we
taxes
generate
for the
surplus.
following year.
no, I'm bothered by every year we know we're over budgeting expenditures.
No,
We
you're
know we
not.
are. We know we are. We know we are because it comes out that way every year. So we're sitting here today knowing we over budgeted
And
expenditures.
to be honest, if you look at our budget where our surplus is generated, majority of our surplus is generated from our taxes. We have to budget an amount that we are anticipating not to be collected, and even though we have an accelerated tax sale, there are homes that are in bankruptcy that are exempt from that. So if somebody then settles their bankruptcy, that's money that's collected on the town that wasn't anticipated. So there are revenues that that we receive that are not anticipated. We have no idea when somebody's bankruptcy is going to be settled.
Yeah, that's-
what I
That's
said,
the
it's a
biggest part.
combination.
It is.
And
I
honestly,
understand
that's
that.
the biggest part of our surplus is the
Combination of
taxes,
revenues.
not really
money.
the expenditure side.
Even that, I understand what you're saying, understand the rules, but even that sounds strange to a person like me.
Look at other
That you know it's going to happen every year. No, I guess I'm talking about government accounting is strange to me. I guess is what I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, what it means is you're over taxing in a given year because you're assuming that that surplus will be zero. That's what it means.
I disagree.
Well, it's just math is what that means.
Disagree.
But that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. We did not receive, normally the Division of Local Finance, Division of Local Government provides us an okay that our budget has been reviewed and that we can move forward with adopting the budget. We did not receive that authorization yet from the state of New Jersey. So once we receive that, we'll adopt it at a subsequent meeting.
Yes.
Anything else to add there, Mr.?
No, you will not need the resolution for the amendment, nor will you need the resolution for the adoption. Okay.
GTE Gov Access email. This is from Deborah Appling of 1719 Willow Place, Clementon, New Jersey. Question for council. When will residents in Gloucester Township see a reduction in our property taxes? We have the Gloucester Township Premium Outlets and Dave & Buster's is coming. Isn't there enough revenue coming into the township that we can see a reduction in our taxes? Can't there be shared services between townships or something to help? Let me start off. She lives in 1719 Willow Place. That's in the Cherrywood section of our town. Each year we pass a capital budget and we also pass a municipal budget. Included in that capital budget, and I believe, Mr. Chadwell, correct me if I'm wrong, we're on year 9 of a infrastructure improvement in Cherrywood, phase 8, which is, and those phases are annual phases. So we have aging infrastructure in parts of our town, streets and sidewalks that need to be repaired as part of our capital budget. As far as seeing a reduction in property taxes, those are some of the expenses that as a township we have to incur. And my goal, and I think my colleagues' goal in council, is to stabilize taxes as much as possible and to provide services to our residents in return. Services that go above and beyond. In regards to the Gloucester Township Premium Outlets, the first year of their abatement was in January of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is year 5 coming up in 2020. After that, they will pay a full, their full freight or full dollar amount on the taxes that they're assessed for their property. And will be, if they're not right now, the largest taxpayer in the municipality. In addition, question regarding shared services, we share fuel with other municipalities. Well, they purchase it from us. We provide other services for those other municipalities. We have a sharing paper that we do with the school district and supplies. Also, brine, the county, we're involved in the energy program with the county as well, purchasing power. Anything else that we do with shared services, Mr. Carter?
There are other shared services I did, just off the top of my head. I can't.
Okay. All right. We'll open up the second.
And we do cooperative purchasing agreements.
Yes.
Like for trash.
We'll now open up our second public portion. Anyone wish to speak on any item, please raise your hand. Mr. Heinbach.
Pete Heinbaum, Morning Star Court. Speaking of tax abatements, the Dave and Buster property, is that in line to, when it's up and running, to receive a tax abatement?
They most likely will be eligible to apply for it.
And that would be the same kind of 5-year arrangement that,
I believe they've already communicated with Chuck, with the assessor.
So they've spoken to the tax assessor regarding an application for that.
so they're able, Dave and Buster's is able to make the application because the area they're building is a redevelopment zone, or is that, do I have that terminology right, and the reason, right?
It is a redevelopment area, but that doesn't, no, they can still apply for a tax abatement.
Whether or not they're in a redevelopment
Yeah.
zone.
On the building only.
Yeah.
Not the land, just the improvement.
And if it's in a redevelopment zone, it gets, as long as they dot all their i's and cross all their t's, it's automatically approved. Is that the difference? And if it's not in a redevelopment zone, they have to meet some kind of test or something? Is some different test? Is that?
Applications made with the tax assessor reviews it, see if it conforms with what's approved for a pilot or abatement, and then they'll make that declaration to council.
And what are those requirements?
I don't have that off the top of my head here. I could provide that to you if you like. Would you like that?
Yes, I would,
Okay,
please.
I'll provide that to you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. This property doesn't seem to be an area, this area of the town doesn't seem the kind of area that's in need of incentives like that. It's next to an outlet that draws people from the region. It's just the new roads and bridges and circles and exit ramps that serve that land, that area, that zone. Has new infrastructure, like water piping and things like that, all through that area. And it doesn't strike me, you know, we do these tax incentives for the benefit of the people in the town, not for the benefit of Dave and Buster's, or for the benefit of Simon Priet or anyone like that, right? I mean,
It's a marketing tool, because there's other municipalities that they may want to put routes in.
Well,
and put their, you know, we're competing with Washington Township, in Berlin Cross Keys Corridor. We're competing with Winslow, Williamstown, Berlin. So these are.
So with the outlets
these
there-
are put in place
yeah.
as a carrot to encourage developers to come into.
So with the outlet there and the exit ramp and the foot traffic and all that's already there, and the brand new roads and infrastructure that's already there, that's more incentives
But
needed.
those things were put in place to encourage other businesses to go there.
Yeah, and we did it. Yeah.
Remember when
So you don't need.
remember when people referred to as the bridge to nowhere? There's some people in here that made those comments in the past. You know, it's going somewhere.
Well,
isn't it?
good for you. You got that in. I'm talking about a tax abatement to Dave and
Am
Buster.
I right? It's going somewhere.
I'll say you're right.
Thank
There's
you,
no we can
Pete, I
move on.
appreciate it.
You're right, Mr. President Mercado. Whatever.
To just a.
I'm talking about this property.
It
It
serves
doesn't.
as a tool, an incentive to develop economic development. Is there any?
But this isn't the type of area that it needs. It already has all the advantages without a
If they
tax
denied
incentive.
it, they'd open themselves up to litigation.
Well, that's because you approved it to be the, I mean, well,
That's
why?
the state law. That's the state law.
That everyone who-
If
every
the
new business gets a
program
tax
is
abatement?
adopted, then the applicant can apply for it.
Sure.
If they meet the criteria, they get approved. They
who
cannot
sets-
be discriminated upon.
No, but this body sets the criteria. The administration and the council sets the
No.
Unless
criteria.
we adopt, no, you're wrong. That's not right. That's not correct.
So any new business that jumps in Gloucester Township can apply for, and as long as they dot their i's, they'll get an abatement. Anyone, anywhere.
Yes.
What does that,
Construction. They're eligible for abatement for new construction. 5-year abatement.
and we're compelled as a township to follow that no matter how desirable the property already is
Deny
to.
it, you better have just cause.
Yeah, well, we do. The taxpayers have sent tens of millions of dollars to upgrade and make this property
That would open us
desirable.
up to litigation.
Oh, that's bad policy all the way around. I don't know if it's the
All
state's
the
fault
towns-
or.
All the towns around us have the same.
Yeah, but this isn't, the other towns don't have a piece of property right next to a brand new outlet and brand new roads and bridges to nowhere and whatever you want to, and exit ramps.
You know the answer. You're
No, I'm saying
you already-
incentives
you already
are,
understand.
I'm saying incentives are meant to benefit the people of town, not Dave and Buster's. And this property
That's not gonna
does not
benefit the
need,
people of the town?
this property doesn't need.
So
an
you'd
incentive.
rather roll it back and have Nicholson Farm?
No,
where
this
we collected,
property-
excuse me, where we collected $4,000?
No, put up the outlet,
In taxes?
give them the abatement, build the roads and the bridges and the exit ramps, and then don't make it an area eligible for abatement. It's now a prime spot to develop as a private business. You shouldn't need the abatement anymore, is what I'm saying. You're only costing tax revenue by keeping it as an abatable property when it's prime. It's a prime place to locate without the incentive of tax
And how
abatement.
did it become a prime place?
Well, yeah, I don't care.
Because you don't care?
I mean, I'm not talking about
You don't
that. I'm
care?
talking about Dave and Buster getting the
Because this
tax.
council had the foresight to have a
Well, good.
redevelopment plan. Excuse
Good.
me, I'm
Good for
talking now.
council. No, you're
No,
going
I'm
a different
speaking.
topic. I'm
I'm
talking
speaking.
about a Dave and Buster's
Pete,
tax
I'm
incentive
speaking now.
abatement. But you're not addressing what I'm addressing. You're going off on a different tangent. And that's not what I'm addressing. This is my
I
time.
guess you're not going to listen to what I have to say.
I know what you're going to say. You did a great job building that area. You're going to say that. That's what you're going to say. I'm saying, so that area is what it is now. It's a prime place for a private enterprise to build. It does not, should not, and does not need a tax incentive.
Okay. Anything else?
And you'll send me these rules and procedures.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Anyone else? Mr. Polidoro.
Evening, Council, again, Ray Polidoro from Ariel, or a little more low-key. How would you define the terminology rateable?
Rateable.
Yes.
Something that's producing taxes, tax revenue.
And what is the purpose of producing tax revenue in a municipality like ourselves?
That will help defer or defray the costs that we have to maintain to provide services to our residents.
So, a municipality...
How would you define it?
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
At some point, there are municipalities in and about, and I'm not going to name one in particular, because there's not one in particular that I think of. Is the goal, or would the goal of a municipal government, like you find folks, eventually to get ratables to a point where it offsets the tax burden to the residents of a town? Would you say that that would be a pretty fair objective when seeking ratables?
I agree, yes.
Okay. And if we're attempting to do that, and I do understand the carrot and the objective of bringing folks in to do that, but there's some areas that are prime for that, some not so prime, and some that we had an objective to do so, and slowly but surely filtering out within a strip mall or center. And it's beginning to counterbalance what your objective is. The second subject matter is, how would you define open space?
Land that's open.
Okay. One of the more difficult things I found to comprehend when I moved to New Jersey was the concept of open space. To raise money to do absolutely nothing with a piece of property. It's not a concept that's as popular in the state that I came from, but it costs money to do nothing with a property. When did Gloucester Township begin collecting that 2 cents within from our taxes for open space? When did that begin?
99, 2000? 99, 2000, there was a referendum.
Okay, I'll take that.
2001.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
that's
referendum was done November 6, 2001.
And it passed overwhelmingly.
Okay, so with 2001, it was the objective of the government, by way of referendum, to raise funds for open space. Now, since 2001, would you say within the boundaries of Gloucester Township, we have more open space or less open space than we did then? And somebody must know the answer to that.
Mr. Lechner, is he sitting down over there? Mr. Lechner,
Yes.
you want to take a stab at that?
Based on the question, I'd say more.
We have more open space,
Now, since 2001, because we've acquired more open space.
okay? With the developments that we're building, what was open space, and I'm not challenging you, but I'm a little curious as to, with all the pride that we have with building new homes, both luxury homes, middle homes, and affordable homes, how we managed to have more open space.
We've acquired open space through the Green Acres program that I'm familiar with.
From who within our boundaries? Who did we acquire?
Individual property owners.
Okay, and again, we paid for a piece of land to do absolutely nothing with.
Reimbursed through Green Acres.
Green Acres. A different tax
Open
rate.
spaces that are complement our open space plan, like we purchased Gin Orlanti property next door to the Gabriel Davies Tavern.
Mhm.
We purchased property across from Wawa on Little Gloucester Road, which is 10 acres. That's part of the Family Resource Center. Lake Matilda, all the grounds near Lake Matilda, 50, 60 plus acres. We purchased subsequent to 2001. I mean, I can give you the whole
You're giving me.
recreation open space inventory, but I don't know all of them.
No, I didn't
But,
expect.
yeah, so the answer would be more.
Okay, because as I see the developing centers and developing homes and
Well,
what
the
have
idea
you.
of
just-
acquiring, most municipalities acquiring open space, not only does it provide passive recreation opportunities, it provides active recreation opportunities, and it also reduces the impact on suburban sprawl.
Okay, and where would Green Acres money come from? State,
State.
which is our taxpayer dollars from the state back to us. And open space, your definition, and I do remember hearing that at some point on different projects, including playgrounds, rec, and what have you, we have used open space for things other than to preserve space itself, but to build things.
We're able to use those funds to maintain that open space.
Okay, but we've also used open space money to accommodate, or I guess supplement grant money to build things. I'm just trying to determine, in your opinion, based on what I'm thinking, and I'm not pointing a finger, just trying to determine based on your answers, whether open space and the expense of open space has been a success or not. And based on the answers, I don't know that it has, but I also wouldn't say that it has not. So thank you for answering those questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the second public portion. Calling the directors.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Lechner?
I have nothing to report.
Captain Barton?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Chadwick? Mr. Owens?
Thank everyone for coming out tonight. Thank the police department and men and women for keeping us safe, and all of our first responders. Congratulations to the township for the Memorial Day services on Monday. We travel around to each of the memorials, raise a flag, lay the wreath, some moments of prayer. So I thought those were, as always, supporting our veterans and active military servicemen and women is always a great thing this township does. And just some things coming up. The township, our rec department does a wonderful movie night in the dark. The first one was May 24th, Incredibles 2. If anyone was there, just people, the families all throughout the park, as far as the eye can see. They do a phenomenal job, another great service for the residents here in town. It's all for free. June 14th will be another movie, Smallfoot. I recommend if you have a family, going out there, enjoy the services that we provide. Then Sounds of the Summer 2019 concert series and other opportunities that this township provides to our residents. It's at Veterans Park, 7 p.m. each Monday. First one coming up is June 24th, Megan Knight and Peyton Taylor. And I believe Peyton Taylor was on American Idol or one of those shows. So it should be a great opportunity to go out and support a local community member and the township as always. And lastly, this is summer camp sign up for the township, another service that this township provides for our residents. The tax base goes to help support all of these great services over the summer for residents at a minimal cost to township residents. Again, proud of all the great things this township is doing for our residents. And happy birthday, Orlando. Thank you.
Mrs. Winners?
So thank everyone for coming out. Please be careful going home.
Mr. Mannion?
Thank you everyone for coming out. Be careful going home. Exactly what Scott said, but he did leave out this Saturday, Gloucester Township Day. But I know President Mercado knows that probably on his list. I'll let him say it all. Thank you.
Estrada?
I just, to echo what Scott said, thank you for reminding the residents of all the great things that do happen in Gloucester Township. And I know I am one of those residents that take advantage of a lot of those movie nights and different things. It's nice to see the crowds out there that support those activities. There's many people here that do not go out and see those events in action, and it's a shame because these are services that we provide to you and your families at no charge, and they are extremely well attended and people absolutely love them. So thank you, Scott, for always reminding us of what's happening. And lastly, Relay for Life is coming up on Saturday, June 8th. We raise money for the American Cancer Society. It takes place in Veterans Park from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So if you have a chance, please go out and support the American Cancer Society, and also, again, meet your fellow community residents that are doing good things in this township. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. I want to thank Mrs. Eric and Mr. Carters for their work on the budget. Thank you very much. As Mike West said earlier, Gloucester Township Day is this Saturday, June 1st, 12 to 10. And that event supports the Gloucester Township Scholarship Committee. It's not an event that is put on by the township, but it's put on by the township. We provide resources to support the Scholarship Committee in their endeavors to raise scholarship funds for high school seniors to attend college. So if you can, please come out and support that. I want to thank the Blackwood West and the Economic Development Corporation for the arts market that took place May 19th, the first annual one. That was the brainchild of one of the business owners. I want to say Wild Ginger's the restaurant, Mystic Ginger. And I look forward to that being a tradition in our community. But just to echo on the services, just to piggyback, Tracy last week attended the graduation of her grandnephew, is that correct? Okay. Isaiah. And it's part of our recreation program, preschool program. And back in 2008, under another administration, a week before school started in September, the then mayor wanted to cancel that program. That preschool program, which provides preschool activities, it helps with the development of young children in our school, because there's no preschool. There's a preschool in our system, our school district, but there's 50 kids total that go in our preschool program. But that preschool program is a 2.5-hour preschool program, an AM and PM program. And I recall when residents came here questioning why the administration at the time wanted to cancel that. And as a body, council was like, this is not going to happen. This is a service that we provide to our residents. It's important to the development of our children. And this is something that was important to me and important to the people who were on council at the time. Glenn was the president at the time, to continue that program. So there are services that we provide in our community, and people want to mock me when I say that we provide premium services. Look around and see what other towns provide. We live in a wonderful community, and I appreciate all the efforts of everyone that's involved in our community and the work that they put into it.
Orlando, if I could just add to that, that preschool program, 35 years strong, and it is more crowded now, more kids attending than there was when my kids attended, 18 years ago. So that program is going strong.
And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone.
You too.
My house is electric for the first time ever.
Anthony, now in for workshop?
That's exactly right.
Should be a fun night.